The first night in the new house, she thought the sound was just pipes settling. By the third night, it was whispering her name. And by the seventh, it was using her daughter's voice.
Welcome to Horror Audiobook.
This is not a story about a haunted house. This is a story about a house that was built around something. When single mother Claire Dawson moves into a quiet suburban fixer-upper with her 6-year-old daughter, she believes she's escaping the wreckage of her past. Instead, she walks into a structure with a hidden room no blueprint shows, a sealed door no contractor will touch, and something beneath the floorboards that only speaks when she's alone. And the worst part, it doesn't want to get out. It wants her to come down. Chapter 1. The noise beneath the floor is not the house settling. The first night, Claire told herself it was pipes. Old houses spoke in the language of expansion and contraction. They ticked, they sighed, they released the day's heat in brittle sighs that echoed through beams and drywall. That was normal, that was documented, that was safe. The house on Marlowe Drive had been built in 1963, a squat, beige structure with a narrow porch and hedges that had grown wild enough to hide the windows from the street. A fixer-upper, the listing had said. Strong bones. Claire had repeated that phrase to herself when she signed the papers. Strong bones. She and Lily had moved in on a Thursday. By Sunday, the noise began. It was 2:17 a.m. when Claire's eyes opened. Not because of a dream. Not because of a sound loud enough to shock her awake. Because of rhythm. Thud. A pause. Thud. A pause just long enough to count. Thud. Her eyes remained fixed on the ceiling as she listened. The digital clock on her nightstand glowed red 2:17. The house around her was silent. No passing cars. No wind. Even the refrigerator had ceased its low mechanical hum. Thud. This time it was clearer. It was coming from beneath her. The bedroom floor was hardwood, recently refinished. She had sanded it herself, breathing in the powdery scent of old varnish for days. Beneath it lay subflooring. Beneath that, foundation. Concrete did not thud. She sat up slowly, holding her breath. Thud. It was rhythmic, measured, almost deliberate. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and pressed her bare feet to the cool floorboards. The vibration was faint, but it was there. From below. Her first thought was pipes, old pipes knocking, water pressure, air pockets. She almost felt relieved at the explanation. Then she realized something. The house's plumbing did not run beneath her bedroom. It ran beneath the kitchen. Which meant the sound wasn't beneath her. It was beneath the center of the house. Directly below the kitchen floor. Thud. Claire stood. The hallway outside her room was dim, lit only by the faint amber glow of the nightlight she'd plugged in for Lily. The air smelled faintly of fresh paint and cardboard, the scent of a life still unpacking. She padded toward Lily's bedroom first. Her daughter was asleep, sprawled sideways across her twin mattress, curls fanned across the pillow. The gentle rise and fall of her chest was steady, peaceful. The sound continued. Thud. It was louder here. Claire felt something shift in her stomach. It only moves when I'm alone. The thought came unbidden, irrational. She dismissed it instantly. Of course she wasn't alone. Lily was here. But Lily was asleep. Claire stepped into her daughter's room and gently touched her shoulder. Lil, she whispered. Lily stirred, brow furrowing. The thudding stopped. Silence poured into the house like thick water. Claire froze. She waited. Nothing. No vibration, no rhythm. Just the quiet hum of distant suburban stillness. She swallowed. Mom, Lily mumbled, eyes half open. It's nothing, Claire said quickly. Go back to sleep. Lily turned over, already drifting. Claire remained there for a full minute. 2. No sound returned. Slowly, carefully, she walked back into the hallway. She didn't go to the kitchen. She didn't look beneath the floor. She went back to bed. It didn't start again that night. The second night it returned at 2:17 a.m. This time she was waiting for it. The red digits flicked from 2:16 to 2:17. Thud. Her breath caught. The rhythm was identical, measured, 3-second intervals. Thud. She didn't move immediately. She counted instead. 1, 2, 3. Thud. It wasn't random. It wasn't chaotic like pipes or wood settling. It was consistent. Deliberate. She lay there, heart tapping lightly against her ribs, and whispered to herself. It's just the foundation. It's just the house. Thud. Her throat tightened. She rose again, slower this time. The hallway was colder tonight. As she approached Lily's room, the sound grew more pronounced, almost impatient. Thud. She reached out and shook Lily gently. Lil, wake up. The instant Lily's eyes fluttered open. Silence. Claire's hand froze on her daughter's shoulder. The pattern was undeniable. The sound stopped when Lily woke. It only moves when I'm alone. The thought returned, stronger now, not a passing flicker, a conclusion. She didn't sleep the rest of that night. By the third night, Claire had convinced herself she needed proof. Isolation does strange things to the mind. That's what her therapist used to say. After the divorce, after the months of living in half-empty apartments and listening to Lily cry for a father who had stopped calling. You need grounding, the therapist had insisted. Evidence, reality checks. So Claire set her phone on the kitchen counter at 2:15 a.m. The house was dark except for the stove clock's dim green glow. She sat at the dining table, fingers wrapped around a mug of chamomile tea she had no intention of drinking. Lily was asleep. The air felt thick. 2:17. Thud. The sound vibrated up through the tile this time, louder in the kitchen, closer. Claire's throat went dry. Thud. She pressed record. The red dot blinked on the screen. Thud. She didn't move toward Lily's room this time. She wanted to see how long it would continue. 3 seconds. Thud. 3 seconds. Thud. Her skin prickled. It wasn't shifting. It wasn't traveling. It was coming from directly beneath the center of the kitchen. Beneath the square of tile she stood on earlier that day while unpacking silverware. Beneath the place Lily had spilled orange juice. Beneath the house. Beneath her. Thud. A tremor stronger than the others. Claire's breath hitched. Then, nothing. No gradual fade. Just absence. The silence felt heavier than the sound. She waited another full minute before daring to stop the recording. Her hands trembled as she picked up the phone. See, she whispered to herself, proof, pipes, something logical. She played it back immediately. The audio crackled softly. For a moment there was nothing. Then, thud, clearer through the phone speaker than it had been in the air. Her chest tightened. Thud. The rhythm was unmistakable. Then beneath it, something else. Faint, thread-like, almost lost in the compression of cheap microphone recording. Claire leaned closer. The third thud played. And under it, a whisper. Not wind. Not static. A shape of sound. Claire. Her blood turned cold. The phone slipped slightly in her grip. She rewound it. Played it again. Thud. Claire. It was unmistakable now, soft, breathless. as if spoken directly against the microphone. Her pulse began to race. "No," she murmured. "No, that's just interference, it's just—" She increased the volume. Thud. "Claire." The voice wasn't distorted. It wasn't monstrous. It sounded almost curious. Testing the syllables. Claire became aware of something then. The whisper had overlapped the thud, as if whatever made the impact had spoken at the same time. Her stomach lurched. She slowly turned her gaze downward, at the tile floor beneath her feet. The house was silent now. Still, but she felt something new. Expectation. As if the space beneath the kitchen was no longer dormant. As if it had achieved something. Learned something. Tested something. She backed away from the center of the room. Her heel caught against the edge of a rug. The phone trembled in her hand. In the silence of the kitchen, a thought formed with perfect clarity. It only moves when I'm alone. Upstairs, Lily shifted in her sleep. The floor beneath Claire's feet gave the faintest vibration. Not a thud. Not yet. Just enough to let her know. It was still there. And it knew her name. Chapter 2. They never listed the room on the blueprint. The house looked ordinary in daylight. That was the worst part. Sunlight softened its angles, turned the cracked driveway into something quaint, something forgivable. The hedges no longer looked overgrown but protective. Even the kitchen, epicenter of the nightly thudding, seemed harmless under the pale wash of morning. Claire stood barefoot on the tile, where the sound always originated. Nothing. No tremor, no vibration, no whisper of her name. It almost felt ridiculous now, almost. But the recording still sat on her phone. She had played it 6 times before sunrise. Claire. Soft, intimate. Beneath the thud. She hadn't slept after that. Instead, she'd waited for daylight like a child afraid of shadows, counting the seconds until the sun erased imagination. Now at 9:42 a.m., she was kneeling in the basement with a rubber mallet in her hand. The basement smelled like damp concrete and old dust. A single bulb hung from the ceiling, humming faintly. Boxes still lined the perimeter walls, Christmas decorations, old textbooks, things she hadn't yet had the courage to unpack from the life before. The floor above her, the kitchen, was directly overhead. If something was beneath the kitchen, it would be beneath this. She tapped the nearest wall. Solid. She moved to the next section, tapped again. Solid. She felt foolish, a grown woman knocking on drywall because of a recording. Then she reached the far corner. Near the back of the basement, partially obscured by a tall shelving unit the previous owners had left behind. She shifted the shelf aside with effort. The legs scraped against concrete in a sound that felt too loud in the stillness. The wall behind it looked newer than the others. Cleaner. The paint slightly different in tone. Claire lifted the mallet again. Tap. A dull thud. Tap. Then, a hollow echo. Her breath stopped. She struck it again. The sound was unmistakable. Not concrete. Not foundation. Empty space. Her pulse began to rise, steady and unpleasant. The drywall here was slightly bowed, as if something behind it pressed outward over time. There were faint seam lines, poorly sanded. A patch job. She ran her fingers along the surface. It was cooler than the rest of the wall. She stepped back slowly. If it was sealed, she whispered to herself, it was sealed for a reason. The phrase felt like it had always existed in her mind, like a warning she'd heard once as a child. If it was sealed for a reason. She fetched a screwdriver from her toolbox. The first puncture was hesitant. The second was decisive. Drywall cracked open with brittle resistance, releasing a puff of stale air that smelled faintly metallic. Not mold. Not rot. Something older. She widened the hole carefully, breaking away chunks until she could peer through. At first she saw nothing. Just darkness. Then, as her eyes adjusted, metal. A curved surface. She tore away more drywall. And there it was. A steel door. Old, industrial, the kind used in warehouses or cold storage units. It was embedded directly into the foundation, flush with concrete edges. And it was sealed. Not locked from the inside. Not barricaded. Sealed from the outside. A thick metal bar had been welded horizontally across it. Welded. Claire's stomach dropped. If it was sealed, she whispered again, voice thinner now, it was sealed for a reason. Her fingers hovered near the metal. It was colder than it should have been, even in the stagnant basement air. She leaned closer. The steel surface was scratched. Not randomly. Long vertical grooves. 4 at a time. Then another set. Then another. Her mind tried to explain it. Construction damage, tools, renovation marks. But the grooves were concentrated near the handle. On the outside. As if something had clawed at the door trying to get in. No. Not in. Trying to hold it shut. Her throat tightened. She stood abruptly, backing away until her shoulders hit the opposite wall. Above her the house creaked faintly. Just settling. Just wood adjusting. Nothing more. She forced herself to breathe slowly. There were explanations. There were always explanations. She left the basement and drove to City Hall before she could talk herself out of it. The records department smelled like old paper and laminate. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Claire stood at the counter while an elderly clerk retrieved archived permits for Marlowe Drive. House was expanded in '78, the clerk muttered, flipping through a thick folder. Previous owner added basement storage. Claire leaned forward. Do the plans show where? The clerk slid the blueprints across the counter. Claire unrolled them carefully. Original structure, 1963, rectangular footprint, single basement level. Then the 1978 addition, an extended basement area beneath the kitchen. Her pulse quickened. She scanned the diagram. Storage space, utility closet, reinforced foundation wall. But no sub-basement. No secondary chamber. No steel door. She traced the drawn walls with her finger. The area behind the reinforced wall was blank. Empty. Not even labeled. Is this complete? She asked. The clerk frowned. It's what was submitted, past inspection. There's no mention of a sealed room. The clerk shrugged lightly. If it's not on the plans, it doesn't exist. Claire's mouth went dry. If it's not on the plans, it doesn't exist. A deliberate omission. A deliberate erasure. Someone had added a space. And then removed it from record. She rolled the blueprints back up slowly. The drive home felt longer than before. The house waited at the end of the street, quiet and beige and painfully ordinary. As she unlocked the front door, a wave of unease passed through her. Inside, everything was exactly as she left it. Lily's backpack on the chair. Half-unpacked boxes. Sunlight stretching across the kitchen tile. Claire stepped to the center of the floor. Directly above the sealed door. She stood very still. Listening. Nothing. Her shoulders loosened slightly. Maybe it had always been storage. Maybe the steel door had been precautionary. Maybe. Thud. The sound was softer in daylight. But it was there, directly beneath her feet. Her breath hitched. It hadn't waited for night. It hadn't waited for 2:17. It had waited for her to come home. She stared down at the tile. The sound did not repeat. Instead, a slow vibration traveled outward in a small radius beneath her. Testing. Aware. If it was sealed, she whispered, voice trembling now, it was sealed for a reason. Above her, Lily laughed at something on television. Bright, innocent, alive. The vibration stopped instantly. Silence flooded back in. Claire didn't move for a long time. She understood something new now. The house wasn't just containing something. It was cooperating. The steel door wasn't an accident. The missing blueprint wasn't a mistake. Someone had built around it. And someone had tried very hard to make sure no one ever opened it again. In the basement, behind the broken drywall, the metal door stood silent. Patient. And for the first time since moving in, Claire felt the shift in perspective. It wasn't trying to get out. It was waiting for her to come down. The faintest metallic tick echoed from below. Not a thud this time. Not a whisper. Just the subtle sound of cooling steel. As if something on the other side had leaned closer and was listening back. Chapter 3. It only speaks when you're alone. The first time it used Lily's voice, the house was full of daylight. That was what unsettled Claire most. Darkness she could have understood. Night had edges soft enough for imagination to bleed into. But this happened at 11:38 in the morning, with sunlight pouring through the kitchen window and the faint hum of traffic drifting in from the street. Lily was at school. Claire had watched the bus doors close. She had stood on the sidewalk until it disappeared around the corner. The house was empty. She was alone. She stood at the sink, rinsing a coffee mug when she heard it. "Mom!" The voice floated up from the direction of the basement stairs. Soft, familiar, perfectly pitched. Claire's hand froze under the running water. Her first thought was that Lily had forgotten something. Maybe she'd missed the bus and come back inside. Maybe. "Mom!" The second call was identical. Same tone, same breath between syllables. But it was wrong. There was no impatience in it, no childish inflection, no emotion at all. It sounded like Lily reading from a script. Claire turned off the faucet slowly. The house felt smaller now. The air heavier. "Lily," she called back, trying to keep her voice level. Silence. Then, "I'm downstairs." Claire's throat tightened. The basement stairs were visible from the kitchen doorway. The light at the bottom was off. The door remained closed. Lily was at school. Claire knew this. She had watched her leave. She took one cautious step toward the basement door. "I saw you get on the bus," Claire said carefully. A pause. Too long. Then, in the same flat cadence, "Mom, I'm downstairs." It wasn't pleading. It wasn't frightened. It was instructing. Her pulse began to pound in her ears. It only speaks when you're alone. The phrase felt like a rule now, a pattern etched into the walls. Claire backed away instead of moving forward. "I'm not coming down," she said quietly. Another pause. This one shorter. Then, "Okay." The voice dissolved into silence. No footsteps, no shifting, no vibration beneath the tile. Just absence. Claire stood there for nearly a full minute, staring at the basement door. The handle did not move. The house did not breathe. Eventually, she forced herself to cross the kitchen and open the door. The stairs descended into dim gray light. Dust motes drifted lazily. The exposed section of drywall where she had uncovered the steel door remained broken and jagged in the far corner. Nothing stood on the steps. Nothing moved below. But the air felt colder than it had before, as if something had been waiting near the top, waiting for her to come closer. She closed the door gently and locked it. The lock was small, insufficient. It felt symbolic. The voices didn't return for 2 days. Long enough for doubt to creep back in. Long enough for Claire to question her exhaustion, her stress, the strain of starting over. Her therapist's voice echoed faintly in memory. Trauma can distort perception. By Wednesday, she almost believed it. Until 2:17 a.m. The thud returned. 3 seconds apart, precise. Claire lay rigid in bed, staring at the ceiling. She did not go to Lily's room this time. She waited. Thud. 3 seconds. Thud. Then, beneath the rhythm, Claire. Her name was clearer now, stronger. She closed her eyes tightly. "You're not real," she whispered. The thudding paused. A shift in pattern. Then, "I'm downstairs." This time, it was not Lily's voice. It was deeper, familiar in a different way. Her chest constricted. "Claire," the voice said again. It was Mark, her ex-husband. Same timbre, same casual drawl he used when trying to sound calm during arguments. Her heart pounded violently. Mark lived 3 states away. Mark had not called in weeks. "You left me down here," the voice said. Claire sat up abruptly. "That's not funny," she breathed, though no one was there to hear it. The voice did not laugh. It did not change tone. "You left me." It sounded almost accurate. Almost wounded. "It knows who matters to you." The thought pierced through her fear. It wasn't random. It wasn't chaotic. It was selecting. Testing. The thudding resumed. Slower now. Thud. Pause. Thud. As if punctuating each word. "Come downstairs." The command was gentle. Persuasive. Claire swung her legs out of bed and stood. Her body felt detached from her thoughts, as if something else were guiding her muscles. She stepped into the hallway. The house was darker than usual. The nightlight outside Lily's room had burned out. She moved toward her daughter's door instinctively. Opened it. Lily slept peacefully, mouth slightly open, breath steady. Safe. Alive. Claire exhaled shakily. The voice had stopped the moment she entered the room. Silence. It only speaks when you're alone. She understood the rule now. It didn't perform for witnesses. It didn't risk contradiction. It targeted isolation. Carefully, patiently, Claire returned to the hallway. The basement door stood at the end like a mouth. Closed. Unmoving. Her heart slowed slightly. Relief crept in. Maybe it was stress. Maybe she needed sleep. She took a step toward her bedroom and froze. From directly behind her, Claire, her own voice. Perfect. Every inflection identical. Not from below. Not from the basement. From the hallway. Just inches from her ear. Her skin erupted in goosebumps. Slowly, carefully, she turned around. Nothing stood there. The hallway was empty. But the air felt occupied. "You're tired," her voice said softly. "You're imagining this." It sounded compassionate. Concerned. Exactly how she would speak to Lily after a nightmare. Her knees nearly buckled. "It knows who matters to you." It had moved beyond mimicry. It was adjusting tone, emotion, cadence, learning. "I'm not alone," Claire whispered hoarsely. "You are," her voice replied immediately. The words seemed to press against her back. "You're always alone." The statement cut deeper than fear, because part of her believed it. The house seemed to lean inward slightly, the walls narrowing, the hallway stretching longer than before. Claire forced herself to walk forward. One step, then another. The voice did not follow. It did not repeat. It let her reach her bedroom. Let her close the door. Let her sit on the edge of the bed and tremble. Hours passed, though outside, the night stayed the same. When dawn finally seeped into the room, she felt hollow. Not terrified. Not hysterical. Studied. That was the sensation she couldn't shake. As if something had observed her reactions, cataloged them, improved its technique. Later that morning, while Lily ate cereal at the kitchen table, Claire watched her carefully. "Did you come downstairs yesterday?" Claire asked casually. Lily shook her head, milk dribbling from her spoon. "No." "Did you call for me?" "No." Simple, honest. Claire nodded. The kitchen tile felt cold beneath her feet. She became aware of something subtle. The thudding had not occurred when Lily was home during the day. Only when Claire was physically alone. Only when there were no other ears to contradict the voice. It only speaks when you're alone. And now it knew three voices perfectly. Lily, Mark, Claire. Three anchors. Three entry points. As Lily left for school again that afternoon, Claire stood at the window and watched the bus pull away. The house grew quiet. Too quiet. She remained standing long after the street emptied. Waiting. Listening. The basement did not thud. Not yet. Instead, from somewhere deep within the walls, a faint inhalation. Not mechanical. Not structural. Breath. Then softly, curiously, as if testing a new tone. "Mom." The voice was Lily's again. But this time, it sounded afraid. Chapter 4. The locked door was meant to keep it in. Claire did not sleep the night after it used Lily's frightened voice. She lay awake listening to the silence, which had somehow become worse than the thudding. Silence meant calculation. Silence meant adjustment. By morning, she had made a decision that felt reckless and rational at the same time. She would open the door. Not herself, but someone would. Because if there was a space beneath her home that did not exist on blueprints, if something had been sealed behind welded steel, then pretending it wasn't there would not make it disappear. And deep down, beneath the fear, beneath the dread, another feeling had begun to bloom. Anger. She would not be studied in her own house. The contractor arrived at noon. His name was Daniel Hargrove, late 40s, weathered hands, the kind of man who had seen enough water damage and termite infestations to be unimpressed by anything drywall concealed. He walked through the basement with steady steps, flashlight beams sweeping across exposed studs and concrete seams. Claire stood near the stairs, arms folded tightly across her chest. "You said there's a steel door behind the wall," Daniel asked. "Yes." "And it's welded." "Yes." He gave a short exhale that might have been a chuckle. People hide safes that way sometimes. Panic rooms, old cold storage, nothing strange about that. Claire didn't respond. He moved the shelving unit aside and studied the exposed section of broken drywall. The steel door gleamed dully under the basement bulb. Daniel crouched, ran a hand over the weld seam. "Professional job," he murmured. "Whoever sealed this knew what they were doing." He knocked against the metal with his knuckles. The sound rang out, deep and resonant. Then, something knocked back. Not an echo. Not vibration. A separate impact. Daniel froze. Claire's breath caught in her throat. He knocked again, harder. The steel reverberated. A beat of silence. Then, 3 slow thuds from the other side. Exactly 3 seconds apart. Daniel stood slowly. "Is someone down there?" he asked, but his voice had changed. Less confident now. Claire swallowed. "There's no other entrance." He stepped closer to the door, ear near the metal. The basement felt smaller suddenly, air thinner. For a moment there was nothing. Then, a faint scraping sound. Like fingernails against steel. Dragging downward. Daniel jerked back. "Okay," he said too quickly. That's pressure shift, air pocket maybe." But his eyes betrayed him. He heard it. Claire saw it in the way his jaw tightened. The scraping came again. Slower this time. Then a whisper. Muted by steel. But present. Daniel's flashlight trembled slightly in his hand. "Did you hear that?" Claire whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward and pressed his palm flat against the metal. The scraping stopped instantly. The basement went silent. A long suspended silence. Then softly, from behind the door, "Daniel." The name slid through the metal like breath through teeth. Claire watched the blood drain from his face. He staggered back as if struck. "That's not funny," he said, though no one had laughed. "I didn't say anything," Claire whispered. Daniel's breathing grew shallow. "How does it know my name?" Claire had no answer. Because she knew exactly how. "It knows who matters to you. It knows who you are." The steel shuddered once. A subtle tremor. Not forceful. Not violent. Testing. Daniel took 2 steps back toward the stairs. "I'm not cutting that open," he said flatly. "You said you would." "I said I'd look at it." His gaze never left the door. "Ma'am, I don't know what's behind there, but something is." He grabbed his tool bag. "Seal the drywall back up. Pretend it's not there." His voice lowered. "Some things are sealed for a reason." Claire felt a chill crawl along her spine. If it was sealed for a reason. Daniel climbed the stairs quickly. Too quickly. She followed. At the top, he paused near the kitchen. For a moment, it looked like he might say something more. Instead, he shook his head once. "I'm refunding the inspection fee," he muttered. Then he left. The front door closed. The house settled into silence. Claire stood alone in the kitchen. The tile beneath her feet felt colder than usual. The realization settled in slowly. The house is not haunted. The basement is occupied. The phrasing felt precise. Important. This wasn't random manifestation. It wasn't wandering spirit energy. It was localized. Contained. Intentional. That night the thudding did not come at 2:17. Claire noticed the absence immediately. She lay in bed waiting. The red digits shifted from 2:16 to 2:17. Nothing. 2:18. Still nothing. Her heart slowed cautiously. Relief began to seep in. Click. The sound came from downstairs. Not a thud. Not a whisper. Metal. Turning. Claire sat upright instantly. Click. Slow. Measured. The sound of a doorknob being tested. From the inside. Her breath caught painfully in her chest. The basement door was at the end of the hallway. She stepped into the corridor, bare feet silent against hardwood. The house felt suspended in darkness. The nightlight outside Lily's room glowed faintly again. The basement door stood closed. Still. Click. The sound was louder now, directly beneath her. Claire moved slowly down the hallway. Her heart hammered so loudly she feared it might wake Lily. She reached the top of the basement stairs. The door trembled faintly. The knob turned. Not violently, not shaking, turning, as if someone were testing the mechanism, as if someone inside were learning how it worked. The lock she had installed rattled lightly. Claire pressed her back against the wall, breath shallow. The knob turned again. Slowly, deliberately, then stopped. Silence. The air thickened. Seconds stretched unbearably. Then, a soft knock. 3 times. 3 seconds apart. Thud. Pause. Thud. Pause. Thud. The house is not haunted. The basement is occupied. Claire felt it then, not just fear but clarity. This was not a spirit wandering through walls. It was something contained in a room. Something that understood barriers. Something that now understood handles. And locks. From inside the basement, a voice drifted upward. Not Lily's. Not Mark's. Not Claire's. Layered. Many tones overlapping. We can open it. The pronoun hit her like ice water. We. Her knees weakened. The knob turned one final time. Harder. The lock strained. But held. For now. Then the movement stopped. Completely. As if whatever was inside had reached a conclusion. Claire stood there long after the sound ceased. Her heart slowed gradually. But the dread did not. Because something fundamental had changed. The thudding had been communication. The mimicry had been experimentation. But this was mechanical understanding. The hallway felt narrower now. The basement door no longer resembled an entrance. It resembled a lid. And something beneath it had just tested the seal. Upstairs, Lily shifted in her sleep. The house exhaled faintly. Claire whispered into the darkness, though she didn't know why. You're not getting out. From below, barely audible. A soft, almost amused reply. We don't need to. And the lock gave the faintest, settling click. Chapter 5. The thing learns faster than you do. The house became quieter after the night the doorknob turned. Not peaceful. Not calm. Just restrained. As if something below had reached a new phase of observation. Claire noticed the difference immediately. The thudding stopped entirely. No rhythmic knocks at 2:17. No scraping against steel. The basement door remained still during the day. But the silence felt deliberate. It's practicing. The phrase followed her from room to room. She moved through the kitchen cautiously now, avoiding the center tile where the vibration had once pulsed beneath her feet. She kept the basement door locked at all times. She had even wedged a chair beneath the handle at night. Lily noticed the change. Why is the chair there? She asked one morning, spoon halfway to her mouth. Just being careful, Claire replied lightly. Of what? Claire smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Old houses do strange things. That much was true. The next incident happened on a Thursday afternoon. Lily was in the living room, building a tower of plastic blocks on the rug. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting long golden bars across the floor. Claire stood in the hallway, sorting laundry. The house was full of the normal sounds of life, plastic clacking, fabric rustling, Lily humming softly to herself. Safe sounds. Grounded sounds. Then, from beneath the floorboards. Mom! The voice came from directly under the living room. Claire's hands froze mid-fold. Lily looked up. Yeah, Lily called casually. Claire's stomach dropped. The voice had not been Lily's. It had been hers. Perfect. Every vowel shaped exactly as she would form it. Mom, Lily repeated, confused now. Claire stepped into the doorway slowly. I didn't say anything, she whispered. Lily frowned. But you did. Her small brow creased in uncertainty. It sounded like you. Claire's heart began to pound. It's practicing. The voice came again. This time layered. Lily. Claire's tone. Then beneath it. Sweetheart. Mark's voice. Then faintly woven through both. Lily's own whisper. The three voices overlapped in strange harmony, rising from below the floor like a distorted choir. Lily's tower collapsed as she scrambled backward. Mom! Now there was fear in her voice. Real fear. The sound stopped instantly. Silence flooded the living room. Claire rushed forward and pulled Lily into her arms. It's okay, she said, though her pulse betrayed her. The house felt attentive. Listening. Adjusting. That night, Claire decided to test it. Not emotionally. Logically. If it was mimicking, it needed information. And information had to come from somewhere. She waited until Lily was asleep before stepping into the kitchen. The tile felt colder than usual. The basement door stood closed at the end of the hallway. Claire positioned herself directly above the sealed steel room. If you're listening, she said quietly, answer me. The silence stretched. Then, a faint hum beneath her feet. Not mechanical. Vibrational. Ask, the layered voice replied softly. It was no longer imitating a single person. It blended tones fluidly now, as if it could shift between them mid-syllable. Claire's throat tightened. She thought carefully. What's Lily's favorite stuffed animal? A pause. Longer than expected. As if searching. Then, Mr. Rabbit. Correct. Her pulse quickened. What did she break last Christmas? Another pause. Longer this time. The vibration beneath the floor intensified slightly. Snow globe. Correct again. But something about the delay unsettled her. It wasn't instant recall. It was processing. It's practicing. Claire swallowed. What did she whisper to me the first night we moved here? The longest pause yet. The air grew heavy. The basement seemed to inhale. Then, she said she hopes the house likes us. Claire's knees nearly gave out. That was accurate. Word for word. But Lily had whispered that in Claire's ear. In bed. With the door closed. How do you know that? Claire whispered. The layered voice shifted subtly. Now it leaned closer to her tone. We listen. The tile vibrated faintly. Not violently. Not threateningly. Just enough to remind her of proximity. Claire's breathing grew uneven. You can't hear everything, she said. A small, almost amused inflection rippled through the harmony. We hear what matters. It knows who matters to you. The realization cut deeper now. It wasn't just mimicking sounds. It was identifying emotional weight. Testing which memories produce the strongest reactions. Feeding on significance. Claire's heart slowed slightly as a strange clarity settled in. You're not perfect, she said softly. Silence. You hesitate. The vibration beneath her paused entirely. You search. A faint distortion crept into the voice. We refine. There it was. Not anger. Not malice. Improvement. The tone sharpened subtly. Ask harder. Claire's blood ran cold. Ask harder. She stepped back slowly. No. The voice did not pursue. It did not command. It simply waited. Studied. The house seemed to lean inward again, walls subtly narrowing. The air felt charged with anticipation. Claire understood something terrifying then. It wasn't trying to scare her. Fear was a byproduct. Its goal was accuracy. Its goal was seamless replication. If it could answer everything correctly, if it could speak without delay, if it could eliminate the pauses, how would she know the difference? It's practicing. Upstairs, Lily shifted in her sleep. The vibration beneath the tile softened instantly. Protective silence returned. Claire backed toward the hallway. The basement door stood still. Innocent. Almost ordinary. But the silence now felt heavier than any thud. Because the pauses were growing shorter. The delays shrinking. And the voices, they were blending more smoothly. As Claire reached the stairs, a final whisper floated up from below. Clearer than before. Layered but stable. We're getting better. The tone was not threatening. Not triumphant. Simply factual. Claire closed the basement door and secured the lock again. But as she stood there in the dark hallway, she understood something irreversible. It wasn't trapped. It was evolving. And it was learning faster than she ever could. In the silence that followed, she thought she heard something new beneath the floor. Not a thud. Not a whisper. A faint sound like pages turning. As if something below were studying. And the lesson was almost complete. Chapter 6. You were not the first family here. The house had stopped pretending. It no longer relied on thuds or turning knobs, no more cautious mimicry drifting up through the vents. The silence now felt purposeful, like a held breath. Claire understood something instinctively. When a predator grows quiet, it is not because it has left. It is because it is closer. 3 days passed without incident. 3 long, watchful days. Lily went to school. Claire avoided the basement. The steel door remained hidden behind broken drywall, the weld seam catching the dim basement light like a scar. But Claire could feel it. The attention. It was no longer testing her memory. It was waiting. And waiting required context. So she began to look backward. The local library smelled of paper and carpet cleaner. It felt safe in a way her house no longer did. Fluorescent lights, open spaces, other human bodies moving quietly between shelves. Claire sat at a computer terminal, fingers hovering over the keyboard. She typed the address. Marlowe Drive. The results were sparse at first. Property tax transfers, renovation permits, a 1978 expansion. Then she widened the search. Previous owners. The Dawson family had purchased the home from the Ellisons. And the Ellisons had bought it in 1976. Claire clicked a scanned newspaper archive dated October 12, 1982. The headline was small, local, almost forgettable. Family of 3 missing from Marlowe Drive home. Her pulse quickened. The article described the disappearance of Thomas and Margaret Ellison and their 8-year-old son, Daniel. No signs of forced entry. No evidence of struggle. Cars left in driveway. Dinner half prepared. The police suspected voluntary departure at first. But no financial withdrawals. No travel records. No trace. Claire scrolled further. A follow-up article 2 weeks later. Police continue search. Unusual conditions noted in basement. Her breath caught. The article quoted an officer stating that the home contained structural irregularities not reflected in official blueprints. Claire leaned closer to the screen. Voices were reportedly heard in the crawlspace during initial search, the article stated, though it dismissed them as acoustic anomalies. Acoustic anomalies. Claire's skin prickled. She searched for more. A grainy audio transcript from a police dispatch surfaced in archived records. The recording itself was damaged, but the transcript remained. Officer Daniels, we've got something down here. Dispatcher, clarify. Officer Daniels, sounds like someone's talking behind the wall. Dispatcher, any suspects on scene? Officer Daniels, negative, house is empty. Then, a final line. Officer Daniels, it keeps repeating my name. Claire's heart pounded violently. The screen blurred slightly as her vision tunneled. It wasn't new. It wasn't unique. It wasn't hers. You were not the first family here. The thought settled with cold precision. She drove home in silence. The house looked unchanged. The hedges still overgrown. The beige siding sun-faded and harmless. But as she stepped inside, the air felt thicker. Older. Like something had stirred at the recognition. You remember, a faint layered whisper murmured from somewhere deep within the walls. Claire froze. I found them, she whispered back without thinking. The house did not respond, but she felt it listening. That evening, after Lily had gone to sleep, Claire descended into the basement again. The light bulb flickered faintly overhead. The broken drywall exposed the steel door fully now. She approached slowly, studying it with new eyes. The weld seam ran cleanly across the center, professional, permanent. She crouched and traced her fingers along the metal surface. Cold, smooth, until she reached the handle. That's when she saw it clearly. On the outside of the door, scratches, deep ones, 4 at a time, clustered around the handle and along the weld seam. She had noticed them before, but not like this, not with context. She leaned closer. The scratches were angled upward, as if someone had clawed at the door trying to reinforce the seal, trying to keep it closed, not open. Her stomach dropped. Someone tried to keep it in. The phrase echoed through her mind like a verdict. Someone tried to keep it in. The scratches weren't random. They were desperate. Jagged lines overlapping each other. And beneath them, something else. Fainter. Another set of marks. These were thinner. More precise. Scratch from the inside. Claire's breath hitched painfully. The inside. She ran her fingers along the lower edge of the door. And that's when she noticed the shift. The bottom corner of the steel plate had warped slightly outward. Not enough to break the seal, but enough to suggest pressure. From within, as if something inside had pushed. Not violently, persistently. Over time, her heartbeat thundered in her ears. You're not new, she whispered. The basement hummed faintly. Neither are you, the layered voice replied softly. Claire staggered back. The voice wasn't mocking. It wasn't aggressive. It sounded nostalgic. You were here before, it added. Her chest tightened. That's impossible. A faint vibration rippled through the concrete floor. Families come, it said. They stay. They learn. They open. The air seemed to thin around her. The scratches. The missing blueprints. The vanished family. They hadn't escaped. They hadn't fled. They had opened it. Claire's knees weakened. What did you do to them? She whispered. Silence. Long. Heavy. Then, they listened. The answer was calm. Almost gentle. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked faintly. Lily shifting in her sleep. The vibration beneath the basement floor stopped instantly. As always, it only speaks when you're alone. Claire backed toward the stairs slowly. Her mind raced. Officer Daniels had heard his name. The Ellisons had vanished. Structural anomalies. Voices in the crawlspace. Someone tried to keep it in. And the scratches on the outside of the door. Those weren't from the thing. They were from the people who realized too late what they had sealed away. She reached the top of the stairs and shut the basement door firmly. The house felt tighter now. Smaller. Like walls closing in millimeter by millimeter. She leaned her forehead against the wood. "You're not getting out," she whispered again. From below, the faintest response rose through the floor. "We don't leave." A pause. Soft. Almost affectionate. "You stay." Claire stepped back slowly. The hallway stretched ahead of her. The house that had once represented safety now felt like inheritance. Not of property, but of something older. Something passed from family to family. Until someone failed to keep it sealed. Upstairs, Lily stirred again. "Mom," she called sleepily. Claire's heart slowed slightly at the sound. Real. Warm. Alive. "I'm here," she replied immediately. And for a brief moment, everything was still. But as she walked toward her daughter's room, she couldn't shake the final realization settling into place. The steel door hadn't been built to imprison something ancient. It had been built in 1978, after the Ellisons moved in, after the expansion, after they discovered it. They hadn't created the room. They had found it, and they had tried, desperately, to keep it in. From beneath the floorboards, just as Claire reached Lily's doorway, came a faint metallic creak. Not loud, not violent, but unmistakable. The weld seemed cooling. Under pressure. Chapter 7. The house rearranges itself at night. The first change was subtle enough to doubt. Claire noticed it on a Tuesday morning while carrying laundry down the hallway. She had walked that corridor dozens of times now, 12 steps from her bedroom to Lily's, 8 more to the bathroom, 5 to the basement door. She counted them sometimes without meaning to. Routine anchors the mind. That morning, it took 14 steps to reach Lily's room. Claire stopped mid-stride. She looked back toward her own bedroom door. It seemed farther away, not dramatically, not impossibly. Just stretched. The air in the hallway felt cooler than usual. "You're tired," she whispered to herself. But when she turned around again, the distance looked normal. 12 steps. She counted. 12. Her heart slowed, though a tremor remained in her hands. It's practicing. The house was quiet now, not in the restrained way of something listening, but in the patient way of something adjusting. That evening, Lily said it casually. They were brushing teeth side by side at the bathroom sink. Foam dribbled down Lily's chin as she spoke. "Mom." "Yes." "Did you move the basement stairs?" Claire's toothbrush paused mid-motion. "No," she said carefully. "Why?" Lily shrugged. "They're different." "How?" "They're steeper." The words settled in the air between them. Claire forced a small laugh. "Stairs don't change, sweetheart." Lily frowned slightly, gaze drifting toward the hallway. "They feel like they're going down more." Claire's pulse quickened. That night she checked. She opened the basement door and flicked on the light. The stairs descended into the same concrete space as always. 13 steps. She counted them slowly. 1, 2, 3. 13. Normal. But as she stood at the top, Staring down, a strange sensation crawled up her spine. The stairs didn't look steeper. They looked deeper, as if the basement ceiling had sunk a few inches, as if the distance between floors had increased. She blinked. The perspective corrected itself. The space returned to normal proportions. "You're imagining it," she whispered. The house exhaled faintly. Hours passed, though outside, the night stayed the same. Claire woke abruptly at 3:04 a.m. No thud. No voice. Just a feeling. The bedroom felt slightly tilted. Her stomach lurched as if she were lying on a slow incline. She sat up quickly. The sensation vanished. The room appeared normal. But the hallway beyond her door felt darker. Longer. She stepped into it cautiously. The air carried a damp smell. Earthy. Like soil after rain. The basement door stood closed. But the wood around its frame looked swollen, as if absorbing moisture from within. Claire approached slowly. And that's when she saw it. A wet footprint. At the top of the stairs. Her breath stopped. It was faint. Bare. Small enough to belong to a child. Water pooled in the grooves of the hardwood floor around it. Claire's heart began to pound violently. She glanced toward Lily's room. The door was closed. She moved quickly and pushed it open. Lily slept soundly beneath her blanket, curls tangled across the pillow. Dry. Safe. Claire turned back toward the hallway. Another footprint. A few feet farther down. Leading away from the basement door. Leading toward her bedroom. Her stomach twisted painfully. "It's not coming up," she whispered. Her voice trembled. "The house is going down." The phrase formed instinctively, like something she had known all along. "It's not coming up. The house is going down." She crouched near the nearest footprint. The water shimmered faintly under the hallway light. Then before her eyes, it began to evaporate. Not slowly. Not naturally. It faded as if absorbed by the wood itself, leaving no stain, no residue. Within seconds it was gone. The air felt colder. Dampness lingered in scent only. Claire stood slowly, her breathing shallow. The hallway seemed longer again. The distance to her bedroom stretched unnaturally. She took one cautious step. The floor dipped slightly beneath her weight. Not a creak. A descent. Just a fraction of an inch. Her pulse thundered in her ears. "It's not coming up," she repeated. "The house is going down." The realization hit her fully now. The entity wasn't breaking free. It wasn't climbing stairs. It was shifting the structure itself. Expanding downward. Pulling the house toward it. Every night the stairs felt steeper. Every night the hallway stretched. Not because it was rising, but because the space beneath was growing. She moved toward the basement door again. Her hand hovered over the knob. The wood felt colder than before. Damp. From within. The faintest vibration pulsed beneath her palm. Not a knock. Not a thud. A steady hum. As if something deep below was exerting pressure outward in all directions. Rearranging. Reconfiguring. She imagined the foundation sinking slowly. Concrete sliding. Earth parting. A hollow beneath the steel door widening inch by inch. It's practicing. Not just voices. Not just mimicry. Space. Perspective. Distance. The hallway lights flickered briefly. And in that flicker, Claire saw it. For a fraction of a second, the corridor extended impossibly long. Doors on either side, repeating endlessly into darkness. The basement door no longer at the end, but in the middle, and below it, stairs descending far beyond 13 steps. Dozens, hundreds, dropping into blackness. Then the light steadied. The hallway returned to normal proportions. Claire stumbled backward, breath ragged. "It's not coming up," she whispered again. "The house is going down." Behind the basement door, something shifted. Not violently, not urgently, confidently, as if it knew the adjustment had been noticed. From Lily's room came a soft murmur. "Mom!" Claire rushed toward the sound. Her heart slowed slightly as she entered. Lily stirred beneath her blanket. "The stairs are longer," Lily murmured sleepily. Claire sat on the edge of the bed. "What do you mean?" "In my dream," Lily whispered, "they kept going." Claire's chest tightened. "How far?" Lily's eyes fluttered closed again. "Forever." Silence settled over the room. Heavy. Claire remained there long after Lily fell back asleep. Listening. Feeling. The floor beneath her feet seemed subtly lower than before. Not enough to measure, but enough to sense. As dawn crept through the curtains, she finally stood. Stepped into the hallway. Counted. 12 steps to Lily's door. Normal. 8 to the bathroom. 5 to the basement. But when she reached the basement door, she hesitated. The bottom edge no longer aligned perfectly with the frame. A thin, dark gap had appeared. Barely noticeable, but new. From within that gap came the faintest current of cold air. And something else. A distant echo. Not a voice. Not yet. More like a cavernous space, adjusting to its own expansion. Claire pressed her ear against the door. Far below, a hollow rumble. Deep. Resonant. Like earth shifting in sleep. She stepped back slowly. The realization was no longer theoretical. The house was not haunted. The basement was occupied. And the basement was getting bigger. From somewhere deep below, barely audible but unmistakable, came a single, layered whisper. More. The word drifted upward through wood and concrete. Hungry. Patient. And the gap beneath the basement door widened. Just slightly. Chapter 8. It wants permission. The voices stopped pretending. No more Lily. No more Mark. No more Claire speaking in her own borrowed tone. The mimicry had served its purpose. Now the voice came as itself. Layered. Many throats moving in unison. Not loud but deep, resonant, close. Claire noticed the shift immediately. The house no longer rearranged itself at night. The hallway had settled. The stairs still felt slightly steeper, but they no longer stretched endlessly into blackness. The distortion phase was over. Now came negotiation. It began on a Sunday afternoon. Lily was at a birthday party down the street. The house was quiet in that specific way that only exists when a child is gone. No scattered toys, no television murmuring, no small footsteps overhead. Claire stood in the kitchen, hands resting on the cool tile above the sealed room. The gap beneath the basement door had widened slightly since the night before, barely noticeable. But enough. She felt the air shift, felt the weight of attention rise from below. And then calmly, Claire, not Lily's voice, not Mark's, not hers, all of them, and none of them. It was as if every voice it had learned was now layered into something new, an artificial harmony. Her throat tightened. "What do you want?" she whispered. A pause. Not searching this time. Composed. "We want you to open the door." The sentence was clear, measured, without distortion. Claire's hands trembled. No. Silence lingered for a moment, not angry, considering. It is difficult for you, the voice continued softly. The tile beneath her vibrated faintly, like a distant engine idling. You are tired. Her jaw clenched. You are alone. Her pulse quickened. You have always been alone. The words were not cruel. They were observational. Claire swallowed hard. I'm not alone. The layered voice shifted subtly, warmer. Your husband left. The air in the kitchen thickened. You blamed yourself. Her heart pounded violently now. You replay the argument in your mind every night. The words pressed inward like invisible fingers. You wonder if you said too much. Claire backed away from the tile. Stop. You are afraid Lily will leave too. The voice did not raise itself. It did not shout. It simply applied pressure. Accurate pressure. It knows who matters to you. It doesn't need force, Claire whispered hoarsely. The voice seemed to brighten faintly at that. No. The answer was immediate. It needs consent. The phrase hung in the air like a contract. Claire felt something shift inside her. Not surrender, but understanding. It wasn't trying to break the weld. It wasn't trying to push through the foundation. The house rearranged itself not to escape, but to disorient, to weaken, to isolate. It didn't need to come up. It needed her to go down. That night the basement door knocked once. Soft, polite. Claire stood at the top of the stairs, staring at the wood. I'm not opening it. A faint vibration answered. We can fix what's broken. Her breath caught. You are afraid of losing Lily. The voice sounded almost compassionate now. We can make her stay. Claire's stomach twisted. You cannot keep her from growing. The voice layered gently, like a lullaby. But we can keep her with you. Her hands trembled violently. That's not how life works. We are not life. The admission came calmly. Claire felt her knees weaken. You think you moved here to start over, the voice continued. But you came here because you were tired. The tile floor pulsed faintly. Tired of fighting. Tired of failing. Tired of pretending you are strong. Her breathing became shallow. Tears welled unexpectedly in her eyes. Open the door, it whispered. We will take the weight. The house felt smaller. The walls leaning inward. The basement door no longer seemed like a barrier. It seemed like an answer. A solution. An end to constant fear. An end to loneliness. An end to effort. Claire stepped closer to the knob before she realized she was moving. The air around the door felt colder than ever before. You won't hurt her, she whispered. The layered voice shifted, becoming softer, closer to Lily's tone without fully copying it. We keep what matters. Her heart thundered. What happens if I open it? A long pause. Then, you join us. The honesty was terrifying. Not disguised. Not sweetened. You will not feel alone. The promise was simple, pure, and deeply wrong. Claire's fingers brushed the lock. The metal felt warmer than expected, as if something inside had been waiting with a hand pressed to the other side. It doesn't need force. It needs consent. Her mind raced. Every argument with Mark. Every silent night after he left. Every moment she wondered if she had ruined her own life. The voice had mapped her weaknesses perfectly. Not by guessing, by listening. From below came a final whisper. We will not take her. The tone softened further. "We will replace you." Claire's breath stopped. The hallway seemed to tilt slightly. The meaning unfolded slowly. If she opened the door, it wouldn't need to harm Lily. It would simply step into Claire's place, where her voice, her gestures, her memories, and Lily would never know the difference. The mimicry had been practice. The distortion had been preparation. The negotiation was the final step. It doesn't need force. It needs consent. Claire stumbled backward from the door as understanding struck fully. "You don't want to escape," she whispered. "We are already here," the voice replied calmly. A subtle shift rippled through the walls. "You are the only part that resists." The house felt still now, balanced on the edge of decision. Claire pressed her back against the hallway wall, breathing hard. Upstairs, Lily's bedroom door creaked slightly in the air current. Real. Warm. Alive. She pictured her daughter's smile, her uneven laugh, the way she mispronounced spaghetti, the way she whispered the first night in the house, hoping it would like them. The entity did not speak. It waited. Patient. It had time. Finally, Claire stepped forward, not toward the knob but toward the deadbolt above it. She slid a heavy dresser from the hallway against the basement door. The wood scraped loudly against the floor. The house seemed to recoil faintly. "I'm not giving you permission," she whispered. The layered voice did not rise in anger. It did not threaten. It simply adjusted. "You will," it said softly. "Eventually." The certainty in its tone was worse than rage. Claire stood there long after the vibration faded. The house felt quiet again. Not defeated. Not retreating. Just recalculating. As she turned toward the stairs, a final whisper rose from beneath the floor. "We do not need to rush." The air grew colder. "We have always been here." Claire climbed the steps slowly. Behind her, in the darkness below the steel door, something shifted. Not violently. Not urgently. Confidently. And the gap beneath the basement door widened. Just enough for a thin ribbon of cold air to slide across the floor. Chapter 9. It knows when you're alone. Claire stopped thinking of the house as a structure. It was no longer walls and beams and foundation. It was timing. Everything depended on timing. When Lily was home, the house behaved. When Lily laughed in the living room, when cartoons hummed from the television, when small feet ran across hardwood floors, the basement fell silent. No vibration. No whispers. No pressure beneath the tile. But the moment Lily left, the air shifted. It waits for silence. Claire began testing it deliberately. On Monday morning, she kept Lily home from school, claiming a mild stomachache. They stayed in the kitchen together all day, painting, baking, filling the space with noise. Nothing happened. The basement door remained still behind the dresser she had wedged against it. The gap beneath it did not widen. The house felt ordinary, safe. But on Tuesday, when Lily boarded the bus and the front door closed with a hollow click, the temperature dropped instantly. Not dramatically. Just enough. Claire stood in the hallway and waited. 5 seconds. 10. The floor beneath her feet pulsed faintly. Not a thud. A recognition. "You are alone," the layered voice whispered softly from below. Claire's throat tightened. She stepped into the living room deliberately. "Not for long," she muttered. The house did not respond, but the vibration intensified slightly, as if adjusting to the fact. It waits for silence. Claire understood now. It didn't attack. It didn't overwhelm. It measured opportunity, and isolation was its doorway. She installed security cameras that afternoon. 3 of them. One in the hallway facing the basement door. One in the kitchen above the center tile. One in the basement itself, angled toward the exposed steel door. She told herself it was precaution. Proof. Reality anchors. The first night, she sat at the kitchen table watching the camera feeds on her laptop. Lily slept upstairs. The house was quiet but not silent. Breathing sounds. Floor settling. Occasional distant car. Nothing unusual. Midnight passed. Then 1:43 a.m. The kitchen camera flickered. Just once. The screen pixelated briefly, then returned to clarity. Claire leaned closer. The basement feed glitched next. The image froze for half a second. When it resumed, the steel door appeared slightly darker. The weld seemed faintly glowing. Her pulse quickened. Then simultaneously, all 3 feeds went black. The laptop screen reflected her own face back at her. Wide eyes. Shallow breath. She checked the Wi-Fi indicator. Full signal. Power was still on. The house had not lost electricity. Only the cameras. Slowly the screen flickered back. The kitchen view returned first. Then the hallway. Then the basement. Nothing had moved. Nothing visible. But Claire noticed something subtle. The dresser she had pushed against the basement door. It had shifted. Only an inch. But enough. Her heart began to pound violently. She rewound the footage. The screen showed the moment before the blackout. Then static. Then restoration. No visible movement during the blackout. But the dresser's new position was undeniable. She swallowed. It waits for silence. The cameras had not failed randomly. They had failed when she was alone. Because Lily was asleep upstairs. Unaware. Not watching. Claire closed the laptop slowly. From beneath the floor came a faint, layered murmur. You tried to see. Her chest tightened. We prefer privacy. The calmness in its tone was more unsettling than anger. You cannot observe what observes you. Claire stood abruptly. You only act when she's gone, she whispered. A pause. Then, yes. The honesty was absolute. Why, she demanded. Silence lingered. Then softly, she anchors you. The answer settled heavily in the room. When she is here, you are divided. The floor vibrated faintly. When she leaves, you are singular. Claire's pulse thudded in her ears. It feeds on isolation. The realization struck like cold water. It didn't simply wait for silence. It needed her alone, because alone meant unguarded. Emotionally exposed. Focused inward. You don't want witnesses, Claire whispered. We do not need them, the voice replied calmly. The house creaked faintly around her. It waits for silence. Claire moved toward the hallway camera feed again. The image flickered subtly. For a brief second, she saw something in the frame. Not fully formed. Not solid. A distortion in the air near the basement door. Tall. Elongated. Then it vanished as the image stabilized. Her breath caught painfully. You can't come out, she said. The layered voice hummed faintly in response. We are not coming out. The words were steady. You are coming down. The hallway seemed to narrow slightly. The gap beneath the basement door widened by another fraction of an inch. Cold air slid across the floor. Claire stepped back slowly. Upstairs, Lily turned over in bed. The vibration ceased instantly. Total stillness. Claire's heart slowed slightly. It waits for silence. It does not fight. It does not force. It isolates. And then it speaks. The next afternoon, she tested it further. She left the house while Lily was at school, returning only briefly to retrieve a forgotten notebook. The moment she stepped inside, the air thickened. The floor hummed. "You left," the voice observed. "Yes," she replied. "You came back alone." The statement felt almost satisfied. Her pulse quickened. "You could leave again," it suggested. Her stomach twisted. "And then what?" A pause. "Eventually, you would return." The certainty in its tone chilled her. "You always return to what contains you." Claire stared at the basement door. The dresser trembled faintly. "Not everything needs walls," the voice continued. "Sometimes containment is inside." Her breathing became shallow. It waits for silence. Because silence allows thoughts to grow louder. Because loneliness echoes. Because doubt becomes a doorway. Upstairs, Lily's bedroom door creaked faintly in the draft. The vibration stopped instantly. Claire understood then. It did not feed on flesh. It did not require blood. It required emotional vacancy. It required the moment, when no one else was there, to contradict its narrative. It required silence. She stepped backward toward the stairs. "I'm not alone," she whispered. The voice responded immediately. "Not yet." The hallway lights flickered once. The security camera feed glitched again. Just for a second. In that second, Claire saw the distortion clearly. A shape pressed against the basement door from within. Not human. Not fully formed. But patient. Waiting for the next stretch of silence. As the image stabilized, everything appeared normal again. The dresser remained in place. The door closed. The house still. But Claire knew now with terrifying certainty. It was not the night it waited for. Not darkness. Not quiet rooms. It waited for absence. It waited for the moment Lily would leave for good. The moment the house held only one heartbeat. The moment the silence would stretch long enough. From beneath the floor, a final whisper rose. "We are patient." The words drifted upward like breath through a crack. "We wait for silence." And somewhere deep below the foundation, something inhaled slowly. Chapter 10. The door finally opens. Claire did not wait for silence this time. She created it. On Friday afternoon, she packed an overnight bag for Lily with hands that trembled only slightly. Pajamas, toothbrush, the stuffed rabbit, 2 changes of clothes. "We're having a sleepover?" Lily asked, excitement flickering across her face. "Yes," Claire said softly, "just for one night." Mrs. Alvarez next door welcomed Lily warmly, unaware of the fracture line running beneath Claire's calm expression. "You sure you're okay?" Mrs. Alvarez asked gently. Claire nodded. "I just need to fix something in the basement." The statement was truer than it sounded. When Lily disappeared into the neighbor's house and the front door closed behind her, Claire felt it instantly. The shift. The house inhaled. Deep. Satisfied. It waits for silence. The air grew heavier, colder. The walls seemed to listen. "You are alone," the layered voice whispered from beneath the floor. "Yes," Claire replied. Her voice did not shake. "I know." She removed the dresser from the basement door slowly, deliberately. The wood scraped across the floor with a finality that echoed down the hallway. The lock beneath her fingers felt warm, as if someone's hand had been resting on the other side. "You do not have to do this," the voice murmured, almost concerned. "I do," Claire said. And she unlocked the door. The basement stairs descended before her, 13 steps. But as she stepped onto the first, the perspective shifted subtly. They felt deeper, heavier. Each step down seemed to draw the air tighter around her lungs. The light bulb at the bottom flickered faintly. The exposed drywall gaped like an open wound in the far corner. The steel door stood silent, waiting. Claire approached it slowly. Her heartbeat was steady now, strangely calm. "You want permission?" she whispered. "Yes." The answer was immediate. "Honest." "You think I'll give it?" A faint vibration rippled across the metal. "You are tired." Claire placed her hand against the steel. Cold met warm. "No," she said quietly, "I'm done being tired." The layered voices shifted subtly. "Curious?" "Open it," they breathed. Claire reached for the weld seam. The metal bar that had once sealed the door had weakened over the past days, subtle warping from pressure within. She had brought tools. A crowbar. A hammer. Her hands moved with quiet determination. Each strike against the weld echoed through the basement like a bell. The house trembled faintly. Not violently. Anticipating. The final seam cracked with a sharp metallic snap. The bar fell to the concrete floor. The steel door exhaled. A sound like deep pressure releasing. "You choose," the voice murmured. Claire grasped the handle. It turned easily. No resistance. As if it had never been locked at all. The door creaked inward. And beyond it, there was no room. No floor. No walls. Only depth. A vast hollow darkness that absorbed the basement light instantly. Not shadow. Absence. Sound itself seemed swallowed by it. Claire stepped closer. The air beyond the threshold was not cold. It was empty, as if oxygen itself thinned near the edge. And from within that hollow, voices, hundreds, layered together in low resonance. Not screaming, not wailing, conversing, murmuring, repeating. Thomas, Margaret, Daniel. Names from the newspaper article drifted faintly among them. Officer Daniels. Fragments of other names she did not recognize. And beneath them all, her own voice, whispering, practicing. Claire's breath caught painfully in her throat. "You are not a creature," she whispered. "We are accumulation," the layered voice replied. The darkness seemed to shift slightly, like the surface of deep water disturbed by a stone. "You do not want to escape. We are not contained." The truth settled over her slowly. The house had not been built to imprison it. The house had been built around it, like a lid placed over a well. Not to trap what was inside, but to keep others from falling in. "You replace," Claire whispered. "Yes." The honesty was immediate. "We preserve." The hollow pulsed faintly. "We remove the part that suffers." Claire felt tears slip silently down her cheeks. "You remove the part that fights." The layered voices did not deny it. "You remove the part that resists." A pause. Then, "Yes." The darkness expanded slightly. Not outward, but inward, as if inviting. "We will be you," it continued softly. "You will not feel alone." The promise again. Clear, seductive. Behind her, the basement light flickered. The house above creaked faintly. Empty. Waiting. Claire stood at the threshold of the hollow. And for a moment, she understood the temptation. No more arguments replayed at night. No more fear of losing Lily. No more exhaustion. Just silence. Just merging. But she also understood something else. The voices inside were not at peace. They were repeating, endlessly, practicing, refining, waiting for the next door. "You don't preserve," Claire said quietly. "You overwrite." The hollow shifted. A faint ripple passed through the layered voices. "You do not matter," they said calmly. "We continue." Claire closed her eyes and stepped forward, not into the darkness, but just enough for her voice to echo within it. "You want consent," she whispered. "Yes. You cannot take me." Silence. A rare thing now. You cannot replace what refuses to step aside. The darkness trembled faintly. Not anger. Uncertainty. Claire felt the edge of it brush against her skin, like cold smoke seeking entry. She held her ground. "I will not open the rest," she said. "You already have." The words were soft, chilling, and true, because she had opened the door. She had allowed the threshold to exist. The layered voices began to rise in volume. Not screaming, resonating, attempting to harmonize with her breathing, with her heartbeat, with her thoughts. It reached for alignment, for synchronization. Claire felt the pull, felt the seductive ease of letting go, of becoming echo instead of origin. It waits for silence. And this was the deepest silence, the silence inside herself. For a long moment, the basement held its breath. Then, Claire stepped backward, out of the threshold. The darkness surged slightly, not violently, but urgently. "You will return," the layered voice whispered. "Everyone returns." Claire pulled the steel door, closed with every ounce of strength she had. The metal slammed shut with a reverberating clang. The basement lights steadied. The air regained weight. The hollow receded beyond steel. She did not attempt to re-weld it. She knew that would not matter. Instead, she dragged the fallen bar back into place loosely. A gesture, not a solution. As she climbed the stairs, her body felt heavier. Not physically, internally, as if something had brushed against her mind and left residue. The house above was silent, but no longer oppressive. Just waiting. When she stepped into the hallway, she paused. The space felt normal again. 12 steps to Lily's room. 5 to the basement. Balanced. Stable. She exhaled slowly. From somewhere deep below, a faint whisper rose. Not layered. Singular. "Mom." Claire's heart skipped. The voice was perfect. Unflawed. No delay. No distortion. She closed her eyes and answered, "I'm here." Her tone was steady, warm, unchanged. Or so it seemed. Outside, Mrs. Alvarez's porch light flicked on as evening settled. Claire stepped onto the front lawn to retrieve Lily. Her movements were calm, measured. When Lily ran into her arms, Claire held her tightly. "You okay?" Lily asked. Claire smiled. "Yes." Her voice was flawless, warm, familiar. But as she turned back toward the house, for a fraction of a second, her reflection in the darkened window did not move with her. And beneath the foundation, something inhaled slowly, waiting for silence again.
Closing chapter.
Some houses creak, some houses settle. But some houses are built to contain what the world refused to destroy. Claire thought she was escaping her past. Instead, she found something that understood it, something that studied it, something that waited patiently for the moment she would stand alone long enough to listen. Because the thing in the basement was never just a creature. It was isolation. It was grief. It was the voice that sounds like someone you love, calling you into the dark. And maybe the most terrifying truth isn't that something was sealed beneath that house. It's that it only speaks when no one else is there to hear it. So tonight, when your house settles, when you hear a sound below your feet, ask yourself one question. Are you alone? And if you are, don't answer when it calls.